Hi guys, Mons here. On today's episode of Paul Mons, I'm going to be going through the Premier League Game Week 22 review. Apologies for the late covering for this week. It's been a very hectic week. However, let me get started. And just before I get started, if you've already subscribed to my channel, I appreciate all the support. If you haven't, make sure you hit on the subscribe button. That's one of the most important things when you're watching any video on YouTube. Thank you very much. So, my prediction, I went, I think, 3 I went 3-3 this week, and there was a couple of draws as well. So my pick was for Manchester United to win. That came off. Sunderland to win. That came off. And Chelsea to win. That came off. My losses were I predict Spurs to win. Spurs have bumped him as usual. They lost. Fulham lost. Aston Villa also lost. Surprising loss to David Moyes Everton, especially Villa being at home. And the draws were Wolves. Wolves were draw. The draw were Wolves and Newcastle. Nottingham Forest drew to Arsenal, and Liverpool and Burnley, and then Brighton also drew as well to Bournemouth. So, for me, I think this was a very poor weekend of football in terms of the Premier League. There's too many draws for my liking. But for me, one of the best results of the season so far as a Manchester United fan was Man United beating Manchester City. What a game. Unbelievable game. I already did a review of that game on Saturday. Dropped it on Saturday already. But just to touch back on it really quickly, that United front three is frightening. And then Bruno behind him, absolutely frightening. Michael Carrick, if you keep doing that job, I don't know if I can advocate Michael Carrick get the job full time because I think Man United need a big name. But however, if he does a brilliant job, it's going to be hard enough to give him the job, in my opinion. Another win for Sunderland. As I said, Crystal Palace are free fall at the moment. Everything seems to be absolutely going downwards for my team, for Crystal Palace. Glasner is a little too mouthy. One of the lads actually said that Glasner is way too mouthy. And when you look back on the last week or so, he's very mouthy. But then again, you can't really blame Glasner simply because he lost his captain. They sold Eze in the summer, and Mateta is looking to get out as well. And what else? I think they sold someone else. And they sold Eze, they sold Mateta. Well, they're going to sell Mateta because Mateta is asking to leave. He said he wanted to leave. And then they sold his captain Guehi as well. And then I don't think there's any plan to replace them, which I think is completely a shambles. Crystal Palace had a very good thing going. For me, I know Crystal Palace is a selling club. However, you have to do the scouting job, bring in players to replace the players that you sold. And they've been very good at that. But unfortunately, the last couple of months, they haven't been very good. Spurs, another defeat for Spurs. I don't know how that clown Thomas Frank is still in the job, especially some of the poor results he's had in the Premier League. They lost at home to West Ham. West Ham, of all people. You lose at home to West Ham. But saying that, West Ham, my guy, still fighting. I hope Nuno still stays in the job, and I hope he stays up in the Premier League. A small belief for Fulham. I felt Fulham have been fantastic last 5 to 6 weeks, but there was a little bleep for them against Wolves. There was a little bleep for Fulham, and they lost at the weekend. Wolves again getting a point, not a bad point against Newcastle. Newcastle for me, a poor away team. I actually predicted Wolves to win. That was my risky pick alert. Risky pick alert didn't land. However, it was very close. Wolves could have won that game, but it was a very boring game to watch. Another 0-0 game in the Premier League. This Premier League is so boring this year in terms of 0-0 draws and just draws in general. Teams not going hammer and tongue to get a winner. It's a shambles, in my opinion. Arsenal, I think if you're champ, I call them champions, the champions elect. However, if you're the champions elect, you have to go to Nottingham Forest and nick a goal. You just have to nick a goal. You have to take advantage of Man City and Aston Villa losing. That's how champions are. That's how games and championships are won. Arsenal didn't take full advantage of that, which is very poor. And I think Gabriel Jesus should be starting ahead of Vitor Gyökeres. Gabriel Jesus is a much better player, create more chance for his teammates, and his runs off the balls are fantastic. When you watch Gabriel Jesus play, he's a proper striker, not just a centre forward. He's an all-round striker. And unfortunately for him, it's just he has bad luck with injury, or else I think he'd be up there, one of the best strikers in the Premier League, in my opinion. That's pretty much it. That was just a quick review. Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in again. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much. Peace out.